hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to another episode of the Indigo Wound Wisdom podcast. I'm your host and sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and thank you for watching and or listening. So sit back, grab some tea and a notebook, and let's vibe together as we have organic and practical conversations embracing intuitive wound wisdom, spirituality, and a sprinkle of magic to rebel, restore, and radiate overall wellness in our lives.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Indigo Wound Wisdom podcast. I am your host and your sister friend, Shatia T. Owsley, and I would like to welcome everyone to today's conversation. I am truly excited and honored to dive into a topic that is deeply important to our health, our history, and the healing of Black women, and most importantly, Black communities. Today, we are joined by a powerful female herbalist based in Tampa, Florida, someone who has dedicated her life to reclaiming ancestral wisdom, nurturing the womb, and teaching holistic ways of caring for our bodies. Her work sits at the intersection of tradition, spirituality, and practical everyday wellness. And in a world where so many of us, especially Black women, struggle silently with womb imbalances, reproductive challenges, chronic pain, generational trauma, her approach offers not just remedies, but restoration. And so today I would like to introduce our guest, Edrina Gilbert. Hey, girl.
Hi.
Edrina is the founder of Let's Doula This Baby, LC, where she provides holistic, trauma-informed doula care, blending herbal support, evidence-based guidance, and ancestral wisdom to empower families through pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. I am so happy that you are here today, and we are talking about a topic I love so much, which is herbs and herbalism. And so how did you get started on this journey?
So I got started with the whole journey of being a doula. I had my son very young. It wasn't a terrible experience. My experience wasn't bad. It just wasn't empowering. And so I felt like something was taken from me from not having that empowerment and fulfilling experience. So that's kind of my approach on the whole journey that I do and how I even coach and help my mamas. I'm very empowering. I like to share lots of knowledge, wisdom. And yeah, I always felt like it was in me. I feel like I got doulas in my family. They just didn't know they were doulas.
So, for those new to the practice, how would you define herbalism and what personally led you down this path?
I have a pop right around the corner. And when I went there, I was just looking for certain things. I want to try this. I want to try that. And so the owner, she actually came up to me and she was like, you could do this. She saw that I was a doula because I wear my doula shirt everywhere. Okay. That's branding. And she saw I was a doula. She was like, you could do this. You could do that. And I was like, hmm. She was like, go on my website, look, dive deep because there's a lot of stuff out here. So I went on the website. I looked at her credentials. I saw all the herbs. I saw the pregnant women that she helped. I saw her knowledge and I was like, I want to get into that. And then the next day, I had a mommy come up to me and she's like, they say I have preeclampsia. And I was like, and I started thinking about the lady at the apothecary. I was like, she just told me these herbs help with this. So then I went back to the apothecary. I said, hey, I have a pregnant mommy and she has preeclampsia. She said, you need this, that. I said, how do you know this? And then she said, I have a book. It's a good starter. She said, I recommend all birth workers, all doulas, anybody that work with pregnant women, get started. And I brought that book and I feel like my life changed. I mean, it had so many things in there from different cultures, Africa, Europe, Canada. I mean, she just combines all the wisdom all over the world and she combines different techniques that they use in different countries. And it broadened my mind. And it also made me realize that, wow, we are kind of limited here when you think about the knowledge. Because I'm like, we have all these herbs, but they're not doing this for mommies. They're giving them other things when they can just do this. And so I made the tea. I did a little extra stuff that I read, and she called me and she said, "Girl, my blood pressure is down." And I said, "Is it?" She said, "Yes." She said, "But I keep going to the bathroom though. Is this normal?" And so I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." I was like, because one of the herbs I used was dandelion leaf, and it's a natural diuretic. And what it does is it gets rid of the swelling. I said, "Yes, girl, it's getting rid of all that swelling in your body." I said, "Every time you pee, just tell yourself that my blood pressure is dropping lower and lower and lower." And she was like, "I am so grateful for you." And then I realized there was a lot of mommies, especially our color, that struggle with this on top of gestation diabetes because we're
Wow.
more prone to it. But these are things that they don't tell us, you know? So
Mhm.
I did a big dive, okay? And it's crazy because I go to the shop every week. And they like, "Girl, what you need today?" I'm like, "Yeah, let me get this, let me get that." And it's to the point now they'll throw me little free stuff in there because I go in there all the time. I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to start buying bulk. She's like, "Your team selling like this?" Yes, girl. Shout out to you. So yeah, shout out to her name is Leonie Powers. If anybody is interested out there to look her up, she is an amazing herbalist, earth worker. I love her.
Yes, yes. And so how would you define herbalism?
Ooh. I feel like it can be defined in different ways, but the way
Mhm.
I use it and how I would define it, I define it as blending herbs by using energetic, so energetic properties, your energy, your intuition, and your intention. That is what I do when I blend. Because I know you have herbalists out there, they're more like, what is it, scientific, I guess. You know, they go in and they study the body. And I actually took anatomy and physiology course too. So I have that background, but I feel like when I really kind of tap in and tap into who is needing what, my intuition and the energy, it guides me to what herb they need, you know? And as always, I'm looking up safety facts, making sure they're not contradicting each other. But I kind of go where I'm guided.
I love that. Yes, yes. How is womb-centered herbalism unique?
Yeah, so I feel like womb healing herbalism is unique because it's focused heavy on trauma because your womb is your portal. So anything that's in there, blockages, it doesn't have to necessarily just include certain organs. It could actually be the trauma that you experience. It's also heavy on energy because our womb carries a lot of energy. Um, when I am doing the womb healing, I start, what fears do you have? What traumas have you experienced in your life? What things have you been through? That's kind of how I start. And then I can link it to, well, this is why you're having the bloating. This is why you're having constipation. This is why your period's irregular. I kind of build a blend based off things that I think will not only heal her wound, but also heal the trauma. So the chakras are important too.
Yes. And so it's so interesting. You answered the next thing I wanted to ask you, which was how do you integrate mind, body, and spirit into your work? And so that was right on point because we are not compartmentalizing the womb, we are integrating and diving deeper based off of how you are working with your clients. And so, what are a few herbs you believe every woman should have in her apothecary for basic womb support?
I love lemon balm. That's my girl. I love her. And I love her because she meets you where you're at. So if you are feeling sad, she's going to uplift you. If you are feeling overwhelmed, she's going to ground you. And some herbs, well, a lot of herbs don't do that. A lot of herbs kind of have that unenergetic property, but with lemon balm, it's like, okay, girl, if you feeling sad today, are you tired? We about to pick you right up. And I mean, it works. I remember when I first tried lemon balm, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. Did I hit the vape pen or something? I was like, hold on, I know I didn't hit the vape pen, but it felt like it just And I was like, wow, okay, thanks, girl. I love nettle. Nettle is another one. It has multiple benefits. Nettle, I like to say nettle is a powerhouse because it tackles three big properties that a lot of diseases start from, which is magnesium, calcium, and the blood. And when you think about like anemia, that's blood. You think about iron deficiency, that's blood, but then it leads to your bone. So I kind of like to do those herbs, and especially with pregnant mommy. And another one that I'm really starting to fall in love with is hibiscus.
And what is
Mhm.
it about hibiscus that you love so much?
It's her spiritual property. She is a divine feminine herb. So she makes you step into your power. You know, if you feel like, hey, I'm not feeling confident today, drink some hibiscus. So I think every woman, when we're talking about the womb healing, I think lemon balm would be great because that's going to always control your mind, get your mind right. The nettle is going to do the body for you. And then the hibiscus, that's actually going to tap you into that power that you have in your womb space.
I love it. I love it. So, can you walk us through a daily herbal ritual that you would recommend for one of your clients who are just starting out using herbs?
The best way I would say to prepare, so first start with the attention. Before you even start blending those herbs and figuring out what you want, make sure you set your attention on what you want the herbal properties to do because they carry energy. So when you're thinking about that, you want to make sure you're putting good energy into those herbs so that they actually combat the issue that you're trying to help. And then I always recommend you need to have a steady herb. So nettle is a good steady herb. So when you're looking into herbs, you want to have an herb that does a lot of different things. So nettle is good for that. Red raspberry leaf is good for that because they kind of control a lot of the things functions in the body. And then you want to always have a cooling herb. So a lot of people don't know the energetic properties, but when I break it down, they're like, oh, that made sense. So when you think of cooling herbs, mint, peppermint, lemon balm, anything that's citrus and minty is considered a cooling herb. You want to do that. And then if you're talking about something that, like, say you're nauseous or you just want a daily herb to kind of help with the gut, you want to do a warming herb. So once again, they're like, girl, what? Ginger root. You drink ginger root, what happens? You get spicy.
Yeah.
That's the warming that's the warmness. So it's not hard to kind of just decide like what is a warming, what's a cooling? Once you actually think about it, you're like, oh, it's in the name. So I always recommend to have a base, a cooling, and a warm if you're going to be blending the herb. And then your base, you want to make sure that's your strongest one. So if you're doing just a simple like batch, 1 tablespoon of your base. And then you want to do like a 1 teaspoon of the cooling and then 1 teaspoon of the warming, you know? But always
Mhm.
have more of the base herb and then just throw the other ones in there. They're like little razzle dazzle.
Just starting out, what would you say would be the least intimidating for somebody just starting
So least intimidating, honestly, that probably would be the bath.
out?
Because
Okay.
when you think
Okay.
about it, that's really where you could throw stuff in there. You're like, "Ooh, let me do this, let me do that." You know, 'cause herb, you got rose petals. Everybody love rose petals. You know, you don't have to study deep and figure out what a rose petal does. Think about it when you get a bouquet of roses. What does it do to your mood?
All
Same thing
right.
works when you're doing it in the bath. So actually, yeah, the bath would be the most intimidating because that's where you would probably feel the most safe at, where because you're not digesting it, but your energy is taking it in. So if you do the bath, you go and say, "Oh, I added this," and then you say, "How did I feel during that bath? How did I feel after that bath?" So now you kind of have that gauge of like, "Oh, so if I drink it, then I'll probably feel calm." More than likely, if you felt calm during the bath. So yeah, I would say bath is like the safe because tea, a little people do get intimidated with tea a little bit just because the contradictions, which is expected. But once you do the bath, if you felt good in that bath, 9 times out of 10, if you put it in a tea, you're gonna feel just the same, if not better.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So let's dive in a little bit more into conditions and how herbs can support different conditions related to the womb. So we're talking fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, and just painful menstrual cycles. How do you approach one or all of these different conditions when you are working with clients? What does that look like?
So I'm always going to do a trauma intake. That's just something I do. So you're always going to have an herb in there that's probably not going to necessarily combat the issue, but it's going to help you mentally. Um, and then when we're talking about the womb and those conditions, that is where you have to do a little bit more research because now we're getting into why do you have fibroids? Where's the fibroids coming from? These diseases and conditions that we have, we're the destination, but they come from so many different places, right? So
Hmm.
we have to go in and I have to ask, okay, well, what happened when you said you started feeling this when you were 15? Okay. So what did you do? How's your blood pressure been? How is your immunity? Things like that. How is the flow of your period? Because I can't just make one simple thing. It's not a one size fit all. I mean, I
Hmm.
would love for it to be because it would make my job easier when it comes to blending and grabbing everything together. But it's not a one size fit all. So I have to go in deeper and ask those deeper questions like, okay, how is your flow? Because just because you have a heavy flow, that doesn't mean you have the same condition as somebody that has a heavy flow as well. So it's really just asking lots of questions and then going from there, asking goals too. So what is your goal? Do you want to get pregnant? Because then I have to add extra things in there too. So the main thing is to detox the body, combat the issue, and then make the goal happen. That's kind of how I have to combat the
Hmm.
things. Those are actually my bigger blends. So when I'm doing like my womb teas, it's like 10, 11 herbs. They're like, girl, what? Why you got all this in here? Listen, I promise it's going to help you. And I always put like what it does right beside it so they know. But then when they talk to me, I also tell them spiritually what it's doing for them too, because that's important as well. Because I feel like when you are combating your womb, you have to come back to self. That's your portal. And when this is blocked, everything's blocked. You're not thinking straight, your clarity's not there, you're discombobulated, your root chakra, everything is just off. So I make sure I tell them the spiritual purposes so that they can go like, this is a journey. This isn't something that I could just do a quick fix. No, you're gonna have to commit to this. And if you can't commit to it, come back. I'm always here, but come back. Because I know it's not gonna work. And I would rather you get good results than for you to just be like, "Oh, I guess it worked." I want you to be like, it worked. But I also
Yeah.
want you to know it worked because of you too. That's why I go into the spiritual property because I want you to know you did this too. I helped you, but it came from you as well.
And I like that. I love your approach because it does put the onus back on the person for them to hold themselves accountable, but for them to take their life back into their hands, take their health back into their hands. So they cannot be passive in their healing. They have to be intentional and they have to put in the work for them to reach the goals that they have set for themselves. And so I really appreciate your approach to you not being or presenting as a I am the end all be all. I'm going to solve all the problems and make it all right. It's like, no, I'm just the guide to help you on this journey, but you ultimately are the person who has to, in essence, save yourself, right?
Mhm.
And so we talked a little bit about fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, and just how you support those conditions. Are those some of the most common womb imbalances that you see in Black women? Or is there one specifically that you see the most when you are working with your clients?
No, definitely. PCOS is I feel like that is the start to the other ones, actually. I feel like everything starts with PCOS because when you look at fibroids and endometriosis, they can be inherited, but not as commonly as PCOS. And even when you think about PCOS, it's commonly inherited because PCOS starts because of suppression. So when you think about us as Black women, we gotta be the strong one. We gotta always pull it together. That's why it's commonly inherited because I know my mama suppressed. I know her mama suppressed. Your mama probably suppressed. I mean, it's just something that is tearing our Black women community up. So a lot of women have PCOS, a lot of them. It comes prominent though when we have kids. That's the thing. But a lot of women, you'll be surprised, they had PCOS from the time they became teenagers and started their cycle. It happened, believe it or not, because it starts with the spiritual suppression. So if you're dealing with somebody that's constantly suppressing, you're going to grow up to suppress. And I can't remember when I started suppressing, but I'm pretty sure it was like a little young because that's all I saw my mom do. And I remember when I finally got diagnosed with PCOS 2 years ago. But I could tell you right now, I've had it ever since I had my son, and my son is 7. I knew I had it because I felt my body shift. You know, I wasn't as tuned to where I could like pin it down, but I knew I said, oh no, this is weird. I didn't have this before. But you know, you go to the doctor, they say, oh, it's because you have a baby and your body's changing and you got to do this and do that. But it's not normal. So PCOS is my number one. I actually find that in pretty much all the Black women that I serve because they come to me with the fertility. They're like, oh, I want to get pregnant. So then when I start asking them questions, I'm like, oh, it sounds like you got PCOS. And they're like, well, I went and they did an ultrasound and they didn't see anything. I'm like, let's go do an MRI. Let's tell them to do a deeper scan. And then they do the deeper scan and they're like, wait, they said they saw little cysts. What is that? PCOS. So, because it starts with anything like the chin hair, you know, believe it or not, that is kind of the start of those issues. Believe it. So, I think every Black woman, when it comes to like the fertility issue, it kind of starts with PCOS. And then depending on the degree of it, it leads to the endometriosis or the fibroid. And I feel like the fibroid, that's your body screaming, hey, you know, that's like the final result, but it starts with the little sis first, believe it or not.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. You made a point to talk about the generational challenges that we have and that we have seen our mothers and our grandmothers and great grandmothers have gone through. And so herbalism in the Black community saved us, right? In so many ways, right? Mentally, spiritually, physically. And so, can you just dive a little bit deeper into how herbalism has been used traditionally in the Black community for womb health as well as just overall wellness?
Yeah, so herbalism, I think people think putting herbs together in a tea blend, that's kind of what it is, but it's easier than that. Herbalism is taking an onion, some honey, garlic, and taking that every day. That's herbalism because you're using natural properties, natural things, and you're putting it all together. And that's why I say with my herbalism, it's based off energy because not only are you using the natural properties, you're also using the energy of those properties. So, I mean, I know my grandma, she was always quick to do like a quick little remedy, and I didn't know what it was. I just knew that this helped me. This helped me
Mhm.
feel better. So now that I think about it, I'm like, oh wow, my granny was a herbalist. That
Yes.
means her grandma was a herbalist because these things are taught, right? Just like I saw her, I'm pretty sure she saw her mom. Um, but the Black community, one thing I like to tap on is with the wound health, right? Herbalism with the wound is also the oil, right? That's herbalism too, because you're taking the lavender buds and you're putting them in an oil and you're rubbing that, even with the castor oil. So I saw people get rubbed down. I saw people's stomachs get rubbed, and I didn't know that was herbalism. But now that I'm studying it, I'm like, oh, okay. So I would say with the Black community, but I think we're surrounded by herbalism. We just don't know. We grew up
Mhm.
around it. I was just on Threads the other day talking to someone, and she was like, "Yeah, I want to get into it. I saw my grandma doing all these things, and I just feel like she was a herbalist." And I called her. I said, "Girl, she was. Don't doubt that. That's your intuition speaking for something." She was like, "Oh," and I tell her, I'm like, "Look at the books. Get into reading. We got to read more. Reading is
Yes.
important, but you can
Yes.
start getting books and just reading little things, and you'll just learn, and you'll be like, oh, I already knew that, you know? Even with
Yeah,
the
for
cinnamon stick.
sure. Yes. Yes. Yes.
That's
Yes.
herbalism.
I was just thinking when you were talking about the onion, just listening to my grandma say, "Oh, that baby got a fever. Cut up an onion and put it in their socks. It'll pull that fever right on up out of there."
Yes, but
And
that's
so,
herbalism.
mhm. Yes. And so I love just to recap a little bit. If you are new to herbalism, won't you start with a bath? Maybe you're not ready for a tea or you don't want to do a tea. Start with a bath and it's pretty too, right? And just seeing pretty things makes you feel good. So why not start with a bath? But also, like you saying too, what are some of those properties that onions have, that honey has, that garlic has, that you can whip you up a little immune immune
Immunity.
booster that you can take every morning. And playing around with your food is also another form of herbalism where you are not dealing with the dry herbs yet. Right. And so
Right.
I love that you touched on that because I think it gives people an opportunity to not be intimidated by it and that they can start off with the things that they already have within their home and not feel like I have to go out and buy all these different
Mhm.
things. But then, shoot, I got to understand what these things do with one another.
Right.
You really can't go wrong with cutting up some onions and some garlic and put a little honey on it.
Hello.
You
Listen.
may have a little strong breath, but other than that, you're going to be good to go, you know?
Listen. Listen, and that's another thing on it. Your body will react before your mind can catch up, right? So if you
Mhm.
drink that ginger, you like, okay, my stomach started feeling better. I
Mhm.
went and I actually pooped. So what does ginger do? Now you can actually tell yourself, okay, ginger must do this with the stomach. Now you done educated yourself. You don't need a book. Like
Yes.
you can do the book to validate it, but your body already told you what
Yes.
ginger do because you did it. So it's simple. Don't get intimidated by the herb. I always tell me that because I teach classes too. I'm like, don't get intimidated by it, y'all. Set your intention, try those herbs, and you'll know what to do because your body will react.
Yes. So you are based in Tampa, Florida. What are
Hmm.
some local Florida herbs or plants that some people in your area may overlook that are super powerful and really powerful for wound wellness being in Tampa?
That's a good question. I wouldn't say local, but you can definitely get, it's called Oregon grapefruit. That is a good gut healer, and it also heals the womb space. So I know everybody like detox, detox. I want to lose weight. I want that body that will detox you. That's a good question. I don't know too many locals because when I go to the apothecary, the one I go to, she brings in things from like all over. But she
Okay.
grows in her bag, but she also brings things from all over. And even when she grows, she's growing like different herbs, not just more so Florida native.
Mhm.
But I definitely, when I was looking into the gut health and stuff, I didn't know too much about the Oregon grapefruit. And so I learned more about it here at that papa. So I definitely would recommend that one, especially with wound healing.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. So, we talked about so many of the benefits, on the mind, the body, and the spirit. We also have to talk about safety, boundaries, and just some misconceptions, just so people are safe out here. And just giving a disclaimer, this is not medical advice.
Right?
This is for educational purposes only. Okay. So be very mindful about how you're moving forward when you're watching
Mm-hmm.
this episode. Do not be coming back to Edrina told me to take and no, no, do your own research and work
Yes.
with or reach out to Edrina, work with a herbalist who can help you navigate
Mm-hmm.
different herbs and how they interact with your body. What are some red flags people should look at when they're seeking herbal products?
Will say the biggest one, if you are on any medication, you can seek the herbs, but please know that herbs is medicine in its own. So if you're already on insulin to lower your sugar because you have diabetes, be mindful if you're dealing with the herb that's going to naturally lower your blood sugar. Because then now it's too much. You're lowering it too much, and now you're about to pass out. We don't want that. So I will say
Right.
if it's a journey, right? So if you're going to take the medication, I'm not saying quit your medication. No, 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 no. You do what works for you, but please know that once you start certain herbs, the medication, it can alter the medication vice versa. So you have to be mindful and make sure that you take appropriate dosage. I know some people, they'll
Mhm.
see one thing and they'll go, oh, wait, do this. Let me do 2 tablespoons. You already doing something for that. Gradually add that in. Also, making sure that that's why I said teas, you do kind of have to be a little bit more careful because you want to make sure that you're not dealing with earth that's going to contradict itself as far as your body function. So you have herbs that will naturally get rid of swelling or it'll naturally help your kidney function. You want to make sure that your body can handle that. So if you are already kind of on the low level, just be mindful. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say not try them because they're medicine, right? It's
Mhm.
going to work, but you don't want to put yourself in a shock because you did too much. Because there is a thing called too much herbs. Believe it or not, you can put too much herbs together and it can actually do the opposite.
Okay. Okay. We spent the majority of our time talking about womb wellness. What are some herbs that pregnant and breastfeeding moms should absolutely avoid?
Hibiscus. Do not take hibiscus. Unfortunately, she's very powerful. She's too powerful. I would stay away from Dymania leaf. Dymania leaf. I would stay away from that one. Too powerful. Just too powerful. I would peppermint. I would stay away from her. Spearmint is good, but peppermint is a little too powerful.
Okay.
And breastfeeding, especially with breastfeeding, peppermint. Do not do peppermint with breastfeeding. It's too powerful.
Okay.
And that's just a few. It's a lot more, but I work with what I know. I'll tell you what you can have versus what to stay away from. And it's like, if
Right.
I don't say it, then don't do it. Cause it's the
Okay.
ones you can have are very limited already,
Okay.
if that makes
Okay.
sense. So
Right.
it's like we're
Yes.
already limited. It's only about, I would say about 7 to 12 herbs that you can have while pregnant and breastfeeding. The rest I would stay away from.
Okay. What do you wish more people understood about the limits of herbalism?
The herbs will help, but herbs is a long-term thing. It's like a wellness journey. It's kind of like you're going to start going to the gym. You can't just go to the gym one day and think, oh, yeah, I'm good. You have to, it's a lifestyle change. So you have to gradually add it. If you do a big tea, it's going to cause more harm than good because your body's not used to that type of healing. So I recommend people, because I see people do it all the time. They're like, "Oh, this works. I'm about to go do this, this, that, and the third." Oh, I recommend breaking it up. Take the tea, but you don't have to take a big amount. Gradually add it into your lifestyle change so that you can see the effects long term. You know, it's not a short term thing. That's a big thing. Herbs is not a short term thing. People think they can do the herbs and it's gonna work. Mm-mm. You have to make it original. Even with my cheese, it takes 2 weeks for you to even start to see changes. And I say that, and that's why I sell it by the 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks worth when you buy it because I know you're not going to be able to say, oh, it helps until that second week. So
Mm,
it's something that gradually happens in your body. It's not something that immediately just snatches you up and gets you together. Mm-mm. It's not like
yeah.
medication. That's a big thing because a lot of people like Tylenol. You take Tylenol, right? Your
Mhm.
headache is gone, what, in a few hours? Versus
Right.
if you take a herb that's for headache, it may put you to sleep and then you wake up and say, oh, my headache's gone. But that's what herbs do. It's going to start to work in your body and then you'll wake up and say, oh, my headache's gone. It's a slow effect. So it's really good for people that are dedicated and, consistent. If you're not dedicated and you're not consistent, herbs may not be your friend because it
Right.
take it take dedication. It does. It's not a quick fix. It's not.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Right.
because I know some people
Consistency
think
and
that.
commitment. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for
Yep.
sure. But I think that's important for people to know, especially if you are transitioning and really trying to take your wellness into your own hands. It is a gradual process. It is something that you shouldn't do by yourself. You should do with someone who is trained and knows what they're doing to help you along the journey. But understanding when you're going into it, like you said, it does take consistency and it does take a commitment. And when we live in a microwave society, when we want a quick fix, we have to understand going into it. When you're working with herbs, as powerful as they are, as much as that they can do, the herbs are, like you said, they are working not just physically, but spiritually and energetically in your body. And so it's like, give me some time to work. Let me do what I need to do. Don't rush me. Don't rush me.
Yes,
And
yes,
so
you
I
can't
I
rush it.
right. Love that. I love it. As a practitioner, what helps you stay grounded in the work that you do? And how do you implement the practices that you share with your clients? How do you implement them into your own life?
Oh yeah. So I am always meditating. Essential oils are my friend. I am constantly cleansing. I do baths. That's why I say I know baths work. I do baths. I'm constantly cleansing my energy. I'm also healing too. I go to therapy. I journal. So I practice what I preach because I can't heal you if I'm not healing. That's a big thing of mine. So I'm always making sure my energy is cleansed and clear. And if it's not, I will gladly say, hey, I can't make your tea today. I'm going to do it this day. Or, I'm going to be very kind of straight front. about that. And I tell my pregnant mommies the same thing. You have to take time out for yourself. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't just get up out of bed and say, "Oh, I'm here." No. Sit on
Yes.
that bed for 5 minutes and just think. I don't care if you're thinking about Disney World. Your brain is slowing down though. You're putting yourself
Yes.
in a zen and you're not overthinking, you know?
Yeah.
Because I do think it's very important to be grounded when you are working with herbs because they're energetic properties. So they can take on the energy, believe it or not. Um, so yeah, that's kind of my little daily regime. And then I drink my tea too. I do my tea. I love my tea.
Yeah. So as we close out, there are a few more, just a couple questions, but what would be your final message that you would like to share to everyone watching?
One gem, do not suppress, release. There's different forms of releasement. Crying is a release, writing is a release, dancing is a releasement, going outside and walking. All those are forms of release, but do not suppress. We think we have to use our voice to speak, but we don't necessarily have to use our voice to speak. We can let it out other ways, but also know that if you suppress, your body will take the bigger toll.
For sure. For sure. How do people love on you? How do we get in touch with you? How do we support you? What are your social media handles?
Yeah, so my Instagram and TikTok is Drina the Doula. My Facebook is Let's Doula This Baby LLC, as well as my website, Let's Doula This Baby LLC.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll make sure that I put all of your information in the description. And if you, especially your website, and if you have any tea blends that you want to recommend that people check out, please send those to me as well. I would like to share those out with the community so we can send people your way so you can help people on this healing journey that they're on.
Yeah.
Before we close out, I always have one last question that I ask every guest. And so that question is, with all of your lived experience, everything that you've seen, everything that you've been through, what would you tell little Edrina now?
You did it. You did it and keep going.
Yes.
The sky is the limit. The sky is the limit.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I want to thank you so much for being with us today. This was so much fun. We got to take away lots of gems, and everybody should go and take them a nice healing herbal bath. Throw those
Yes.
flowers up in there, throw some orange peels, and have all the fun before y'all start getting in that kitchen doing too much with these dry herbs. Okay? Go take a bath. Go take a bath. Okay. But Gina, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate your story, your transparency, and you teaching us today. I can tell your passion for the work that you do. I see you all over TikTok. I see your reviews. I see people commenting, and I know that you are doing some amazing and great work. And we want to be along on this journey with you and support you. So thank you for spending time with us today and sharing a little bit of your life with us. It means a lot to me. And everyone, thank you for watching, for showing up today for us. And we will see you in the next one. Peace.
Right.